Hi, this is Deep Tran,
I'm Jose Solis.
and we're your token theater friends, people who love theater so much that I think this weekend I saw like two shows, and it felt like a normal weekend, pre-COVID weekend.
I had a 3-show Wednesday last Wednesday, so that felt like
What?
matinee, evening, and evening plus, I guess, or something. Yeah, that felt amazing.
And you didn't even have to put on pants.
I wore pants, though, because you never know if those Zoom people can see you.
Yeah, you never know with like the cameras they make these days. They could like direct it themselves, right?
Don't even go there. Don't put ideas in my head.
Yeah. And what are we talking about today, Jose?
We have a really exciting show today, because had you seen a Karen Zacarías play before? I mean, I haven't even said what we're talking
No.
about, right? Okay, yeah, we'll talk about
Yeah.
that. First up, we're going to talk about Karen Zacarías' The Copper Children, a play that was streamed by Oregon Shakespeare Festival and which turned out to be our very first Karen Zacarías play. So we're going to talk about why in a little bit. And we are also talking to playwright Hilary Bettis, who is part of the Kilroys, who recently released their very heartbreaking list this year, right? So we're going to
It's
talk
like,
about that.
yeah. Shows of COVID past.
I know. It's like, oh God, it was so
Oof.
sad. Oof,
Yeah.
oof indeed. Yeah, we're gonna be talking to Hilary about the Kilroys and 72 Miles to Go, which is a play she was doing at Roundabout before COVID. So did you get to see that?
No, I didn't have time.
So much heartbreak this episode.
I know, right? And you know what? Both of these plays about immigration, and they're kind of a bummer. A little bit. A little
like
bit.
a lot.
Yeah. But actually, want to know what's not a bummer? Like, I just want to take the time to just talk about New York and how proud I am of New York, because there's so many, theater people out of work right now, so many restaurant people out of work right now, but we all chose to take the financial hit and stay home. And yesterday, New York City reported 0 deaths for the first time. And so I heart all of us. And that does not mean we stop wearing masks or go back to the theater, because, like, what would make you feel safe right now to go back?
To go back, not being near Disney World. That makes me feel like I'm in the safest spot on earth. How? Like, I mean, how? Disney World? Can you explain that to me? How?
Money is how. But there's so many other
Jesus.
theaters. Like, I read this article that this theater in somewhere in Middle America, I think it's called the Heron Theater Company, they reopened with no distancing between the patrons, and then one of the actors in their production of Mary Poppins got sick, and so they had to cancel the production and shut everything back down.
Mary freaking Poppins?
Mm-hmm.
I hope it wasn't Mary Poppins that she's like flying, like coughing, like that's
Spreading
so
COVID
dangerous.
to the children of London.
Oh my God, that's so terrifying. Yeah, so definitely not being very far away from Disney World makes me very happy right now. It makes me feel very safe. But I don't know if there's anything that would really make me feel safe uh, right now. Do you?
To
Do you have like a
go?
benchmark? Yeah.
No, I have a benchmark. I have a vaccine. I'm waiting for the vaccine.
We're gonna be trapped for a very long
We're
time.
gonna try. Yeah, I think that's why like so many, I like the two theaters in the Berkshires and Massachusetts, like they're reopening, and I'm just thinking, why? Why we're doing so good? No one's dead in New York. We need to keep everything down. Why are we getting ahead of ourselves? I'm so scared, Jose.
You know what's so strange? Like it's like a bizarro world. There was a movie that came out 2 years ago, but I think was released commercially last year in the United States. It was called In Transit, and it's a German movie in which characters are trying to like do like migration from the U.S. into Mexico, and people are being smuggled from the U.S. into Mexico. And I'm like, literally, this is where the world is right now. I mean, like my friends in Europe are saying that Americans are like banned from the European Union.
We're
They're
banned
being
everywhere.
everywhere. And that's like, that had never happened before. I feel like it's upside down world. It's so strange.
Or real life is reflecting fiction, because remember that movie, that Roland Emmerich movie, 2012?
With the library and Jake Gyllenhaal, yes, unfortunately I
Yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah. With like the entire world is ending, and it gets and the world heats up, and so everyone is like illegally migrating to Canada.
Yeah. Or wait, who was the dad? Was it Dennis Quaid?
I forget.
Who was it? He was
That was a
really
very
cute.
loud movie.
It was
It may
super
have been
loud.
Dennis Quaid, actually. Yeah.
Okay, Grandma. Who was? Were there women in it? I remember Jake Gyllenhaal.
And Emmy Rossum was in it before she did
Oh,
Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom. Yeah. God bless her. Who was the mom? There must have been a mom, right?
No, no, there. I think there was just a dad.
Oh, of course it's just that.
And back when Jake Gyllenhaal tried to be a movie actor, remember that pre-COVID
I
days?
mean, I think I gotta like him more in movies than I do on stage, to be honest. I think.
No.
'Cause he's not my favorite, like in any medium for starters. Uh,
I
but I
mean,
think I like him a
yeah.
little bit more in movies. But whatever. Why are we talking about Jake Gyllenhaal?
You didn't like Sunday in the Park with George when he
I
did his
like
best Manny Patinkin?
I like Sunday in the Park with Annalie Ashford. No, I mean he was really good in that, but I don't know. I'm a
It didn't do
Gyllenhaal
anything for you.
agnostic. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also very Gyllenhaal agnostic. Don't tell the fans. Like, they're gonna come after us.
So are we cutting this from the episode
Yeah,
now?
no, we're not cutting. It seems we have the same taste in men, Jose. I think that's what's happening.
Not Jake Gyllenhaal?
Not Jake Gyllenhaal,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, even if he was on stage right now, like who would pay to be in a theater and try to not get COVID?
Someone would pay. There's
Mm,
always someone
there's
who's willing to
always
risk
somebody.
people's lives. Yeah. Betsy
Yeah.
DeVos would pay.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I'm glad there's some people who are opening, but I'm very glad theaters are continuing to close and stay home, because we're all in this together until the very end, which I hope will not be a year from now.
That's dark. Can you
I
close it with like a happy ending instead?
No, we're about to get into a discussion of immigration. This is not like
Are we
I was like
purposely
mentally
trying to
preparing.
like
I was
are
like
we
mentally
purposely
prepared.
talking about Jake Gyllenhaal and other things just so we don't have to go into the
Exactly,
oh wow.
exactly. Though Jake Gyllenhaal in a dad cardigan is my fit. In what was it? Seawall, a life at the
Yeah.
Public Theater before it went to Broadway, when he was wearing the cardigan, because he did not wear the cardigan on Broadway. That is my favorite Jake Gyllenhaal.
I think my favorite Jake Gyllenhaal is shirtless Jake Gyllenhaal in the very inappropriate Prince of Persia, in which he played a Middle Eastern man. Remember that?
Remember back when it was okay?
It was never okay.
It was never okay.
Uh, but I think that's my favorite. Or also like Jake, and remember that movie Love and Other Drugs, where he and Anne
Oh, he was
Hathaway
naked for most of
the
the movie.
entire time. Yes.
See, that's because Living on the Drugs is what I thought Brokeback Mountain was gonna be. I thought they were gonna be more naked in Brokeback Mountain, and I was kind of disappointed. R.I.P. Heath Ledger, that they were only really shirtless for like one scene.
They are in like the mountains in like Utah or something, or
It's a
Montana.
fantasy.
It was not a fantasy. He's murdered at the end. And it's not a fantasy. It's not like Danielle Steele, like lady porn. Is
I
Danielle Steele
thought
like
it
lady
was
porn?
gonna. Yeah, she still writes lady porn. Yeah,
Oh,
but I
really?
thought it was gonna be. I thought lady porn is the same as gay porn. Like we just like seeing
Girl.
good-looking men
Doing
with no
very
shirts
different
on.
things.
With no
Yeah.
shirts on.
Yeah. At different levels of like lubrication, let's say. Okay, we need to talk about this play. We need to, we need to dive in. We need to do. I'm holding your hand. Are you ready?
I'm not ready.
Okay, let's try.
I'm not
Oh
ready.
my,
Okay.
They were both very depressing. Uh,
Yeah.
okay. Let's start
So
with the Copper Children.
the Copper Children.
Okay, you
Okay.
go.
So the Copper Children is based on a true story, and it is by Karen Zacarías, who is one of the most produced plays in America. But fun fact, Jose said in his article that is on our website that you can read that Karen has never had a play done in New York. And but it just goes to show you don't need to be approved by New York in order to get like a multi-million-dollar production. Oregon Shakespeare Festival produced the Copper Children. It is not a small theater, it is a very large theater, and it was a really stirring production. Like, it was very Brechtian to me, actually. They call it like a fable, like an American fable. And summary, it's set in 1904 when a bunch of Irish orphans get transported across the United States to the frontier Southwest so that they could be adopted by Catholic parents, except the Catholic parents turn out to be Mexicans during a who are cohabitating in the front who are cohabitating in Arizona, which belonged to New Mexico at the time, with white people. And so when the children arrive, it then becomes a when the children arrive, they go from Irish to white, and all these racist white people are like, these Mexicans cannot adopt our children, even though they didn't actually want them originally because they're Irish, but because race is a construct, they decided that these Mexican parents are not good enough for these children, and so it's about that. And it's
Racism,
in 1904.
children,
Yeah,
like
19.
orphans. Like it's so crazy, like to even because
the,
one of the things
the
that Karen,
original caravan.
not yeah, oh my god,
Unaccompanied
but
minors,
it's insane though, right? But I
Yeah.
mean, that happened so long ago, and like, why aren't people learning their lesson? It was very sad. Although, yeah, the play is very Brechtian. It was very sad because do you think you would have been able to like handle it if it had been more naturalistic and if we had seen, for instance, like actual little children, and if it was more literal, was your soul ready for that?
No, not really. No, I think it was comforting to know that they're all just telling a story. Like the actors start off in modern dress and then they recreate these stories. They recreate this story, and there's always slightly a remove, but what I really loved about it was whenever we went back in time, like even if it's just like a very short scene, like Karen is such an economical writer that she's able to make you feel these people's humanity, both the Mexicans and the white people, without with very little time. Like she establishes the racial scene of Arizona at the time, which is incredibly complex, in like less than 5 minutes. It's like, I don't know how she did it, but I was riveted the entire time.
Karen Zacarías for Secretary of Education. She gets,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I learned so much, and I know that's not necessarily the purpose of the play, but I learned a lot about history, and it was so strange. This trial at the end, this custody battle for the one of the little Irish children, who's played by a puppet named Katie.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, uh, it was so strange that this whole battle was called the trial of the century. And how many trials of the century have we had
A
since?
lot.
Like, yeah, like OJ, and like everything's always like a trial of the century. And I'm like, I don't know. I just felt so bad. I felt such failure as a human being, not as like just myself necessarily, but as like
Your
a
heart.
human society. Like Jesus, like don't we learn anything like at all?
No,
Like at all?
no, no. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, an example of why we haven't learned anything. It's because no one teaches this in schools, like the way American history is taught in schools is very much slavery happened and then slavery did not happen. We freed the slaves and then everything was okay until World War II when the Germans killed the Jews and then we had to kill the Japanese. But it was all them. You know, it's all very much an us versus them mentality, and all of the in school for me, like most of the racial stuff was like during the Civil War. And so
That's
like
insane.
if you don't learn your history, then of course you repeat it. And what I really loved about the play was the fact that the thing is like it could like there was a review in the New York Times of this play, and they were talking about, and the reviewer Elizabeth Ventratelli was talking about how it was like very overstuffed with themes, and she found it very didactic. And I actually didn't, because it's like it's not an issue. It could be an issue play, but Karen doesn't spell it out in exactly those words. She is just telling the story, and because the actors are in modern dress for a portion of it, like it allows you to make the connection in your own mind without the play guiding you through it, and that's the brilliant thing about it.
So wait. A white lady who probably left Oslo and the inheritance is saying that this is overstuffed with themes, and who probably loves Angels in America is saying that this is overstuffed with themes. Okay, wow.
I know. But
No
that's why we
comment.
exist. It's fine. It's fine.
And it's
Everyone's
like, who
entitled to
says
their
stuff like that?
opinions. Yeah,
No, I
right?
know, but it's like if these people like started like judging works by non-white people with the same like lens that they do works by white people that they love, they would be like pot meet kettle, like in a
Yeah.
lot of wow. Okay, anyway.
But this play is basically kind of like Caucasian chalk circle. But it's like why? It's like why did why am I the only one making that connection? It's kind of like playwrights of color are also influenced by white people
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Because they're probably too busy writing Mucho Escandaloso in a new playo by Karen Zacarías. Like I don't know
It's like a
how
telenovela, except it's not. It's not.
it's not telenovela, yeah. In fact, one of the things that I really enjoyed about writing about Karen, getting to speak to Karen, was that we have bonded in the past digitally, over how angry we get at white critics and white people using the word telenovela, usually as a pejorative, right, and as something that's like
And that's
camp and
mm-hmm.
like I don't know, like bad. And it's so strange because like most of those people haven't even watched a
Watched a
telenovela
lot
in their
of them.
lives.
No.
Yeah, and I loved telenovelas so much. Love them so much. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I guess that I hope that they would have again. Don't we ever learn our lesson?
Mm-mm. It's like lack of imagination, which is the basic theme of American history, I think. Like people unable to look outside of themselves and outside of their own myopic worldview in order to understand what other people might be coming from.
But it's like the one thing that you learned not in a history class about American history that when you found out about it.
I think it was definitely the Japanese internment. Like I didn't learn about it in history class. I learned about it in my English class because we read Farewell to Manzanar.
So you didn't learn about it in history?
I mean, I
Why were
learned
they
about
teaching you?
huh?
Why
They're
were they
teaching us
teaching
like
you
the
in
broad
history?
strokes. Like World War II was like it was like 2 weeks worth about the Holocaust, and then you get a couple days on Pearl Harbor. But we did not touch on the Japanese internment at all, you're not taught to make the connections between you know concentration camps and internment camps
So
until you go to college and become like a bleeding heart liberal, but then it's too late, for
so
the ignorant.
they only teach you the places where white people have been the heroes.
Yes.
So they teach you that they ended slavery, but they don't tell you about all the nuts, all like the nut cases that then they ended up
No.
having
Or Jim
monuments and
Crow.
like
Yeah.
or the
They don't teach you
KKK.
about.
They don't.
No.
Not a word.
No. I went to school in California.
Girl, and that's a progressive state.
I know, right? Imagine how much worse it is, like in the actual South.
Kentucky.
I know.
Oh my God, that's terrifying. Oh my God,
Yeah.
like Alabama, Kentucky, Georgia, they must be
Hmm.
learning.
Yeah, that's why we're in the situation where we are in now, because we are not taught that racism does not end with one event.
It does
You
not?
know? What? Are you right? Right?
That is so insane. Yeah, which is why one of the things that I really loved about the Copper Children was that the puppet that's supposed to represent Katie, who's this like redheaded Irish orphan. She doesn't have a face, like she doesn't have like
Mm-mm.
a she's made out of wood with no hair or anything. So it forces one, I would hope, to empathize and to see their own children up there. Um, wow, that took me on like a trip, but that's like insane though. Like I can't believe they. I mean, we talked about it kind of in our previous episode, the our Hamilton Congress. If you haven't watched it, go to that at some point.
Work.
But yeah, work. But we talked about that about how even like I know you know you know how my sixth grade history book ended, the last part of my history book, and someday man will reach the moon. And okay, I was born in 1986, so people had already been to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how my history book ended. Because like we got the like the secondhand history books from American schools.
Yeah, yeah.
So although I was in an American school, we were getting like super old history
Mm-hmm.
from the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's like, oh god, how can people fix that then? So do you think that plays are a good place, to learn history?
I don't think like a play should teach you history, because a play comes with its own preconceived notions of what's worth telling, like any history book, and it's always going to be incomplete. Like you can't stuff, like Karen couldn't stuff like all of Arizona colonial history in
No.
into her play. That's why you need more research. But I think a good piece of work, like like the Copper Children, like Hamilton, will like inspire you to look more into it, or it should inspire you to look more into it. And so actually, after I watched the Copper Children, I actually looked up, I actually Googled like Arizona orphans 1904 to see if it was actually true. Because I'm
Weren't
a
you like too
nerd.
sad?
No, because I'm a nerd. Like I need to know. I need to
And
know. And there's a book actually about it by Linda Gordon called the Great Arizona Orphan Abduction, and it's a and basically and like also like one of the Arizona press in like the early 2000s wrote about it, and what Karen put in her play was basically not that far from reality. So really,
like you can't.
reality is like stranger than fiction sometimes, because it's fucking insane.
It is really nuts. It is really crazy. Okay,
But
but we were talking.
I'm a
What?
big advocate for doing your own research. Like don't 100% believe entertainment.
No, I mean that
Like
would be like
please don't.
if that Pocahontas would be this like 25-year-old princess and not like some child
Exactly.
and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, Disney, you have disappointed us in so many ways. Do you
I do
think
like
Disney's gonna?
Pocahontas though.
I love
I
Pocahontas.
love
Like,
it. It's so
but when I
problematic.
but when I found out that she was like 12, and he was like, I mean, and she didn't even marry John Smith. Do you remember who she married in the
She
end?
married John Rolfe, yeah.
Yes. Who's in the sequel Pocahontas 2 Journey to the New World. Do you remember that?
Voiced by Billy Zane.
Voiced by Christian Bale, right?
Wait, no. Christian Bale was in the Terrence Malick, the New World Pocahontas movie with yeah.
With Kuryanka Kilcher. Well,
Yeah.
all my Pocahontas, Disney, this is your fault. All my Pocahontas like myths are just like,
Mhm.
are you sure Christian Bale wasn't in the animated Pocahontas
No,
also?
Billy Zane was because I remembered, oh, it's Rose's fiance in Titanic.
You're such a gay boy, teenage girl. No, but you weren't even a teenager.
I was a
You were
preteen.
like,
I
you
was a
were,
preteen.
yeah. Was that when you
Yeah.
were reading the Babysitters Club also, or is that too
Oh yeah.
old?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All during. all the 90s were a very vivid time in my imagination.
Clearly, I'm older and I'm already starting to forget. But okay, let's talk about. Wow, this play is like making us like talk about some crazy shit.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know, right?
but let's talk about what we talked about at the beginning. How this is like the first Karen Zacarías play we have ever seen, and how wrong that is. Because um, who are the top people who are never produced in New York? It's Karen Zacarías, Lauren Gunderson, um,
Has like Octavius Elise been produced
in New York.
in New York?
I mean, not while I've been around. I think. Yeah, I don't think not while I've been around. And like even what's the name of Terrell? Even like he's only had one show produced on Broadway, right?
Yes, but
And
he
not
has been produced in, yeah. His famous trilogy was produced in New York
oh, it
off
was
Broadway,
okay.
but it was before we all got
Knew him.
here. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But
hmm.
but yeah, I totally and no, I totally think that you don't need to have like a big New York clout in order to be a playwright. I think what you do need is just like enough people who believe in your work. And I think the thing about New York is like people come to New York because it's the easiest way then to like be transmitted out. To like get your name established so that more people will want to produce you. But that doesn't have to be the case though.
It shouldn't. Like if anything,
No.
quarantine has taught us that it shouldn't. I mean, I was so happy. Like I wish Roundabout or someone would produce like a play like The Copper Children instead of Eugene O'Neill and like Arthur Miller.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many Arthur Millers and Eugene O'Neills can we get every season, right?
Or Tom Stoppard.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have a soft spot for Stoppard, but yes, enough Tom Stoppard also, but also Chekhov and everything. And yes, I was right. Christian Bale was in both Pocahontas. See,
Oh, I had no idea.
he was Thomas, whoever Thomas
Oh
was.
shoot, I didn't know that.
I was like,
Wow.
which means I
Wow.
don't have early onset like some sort of like disease, but I remember my Pocahontas is right. Anyway, thank you, Karen, for making me revise my history. Make sure that I was speaking the truth. But like last year, I think was the first time that with that play about Marie Curie. What was it same? What's it called?
uh, the Half Life of Marie Curie.
Yeah, and it was like the first Lauren Garrison play that I think I ever saw in New York.
No, it's a third that's been produced in New York.
Okay, but that's like
Yep.
nothing. And she's like, isn't she like the most produced after
Yeah.
Shakespeare, right, or
Yeah. She
something like
is.
that?
She is
Wow.
in America. Yeah, but it's because like her plays have gotten circulated out outside of New York. No, but I do want to shout out like the director Sharifa Ali because I've never seen any of her work before, and I was like really impressed by how she handled this because I think it is when it comes to stuff that breaks a fourth wall or has a lot of ideas like this one, like you don't want like it's easy to be overwhelmed by it, and I think like I loved how simple she kept it with the scaffolding that looks like my mind scaffolding, and and just and just making sure that, and like the designation of different time periods is just through like costuming and skirts and things like that, and so it was all very simple, so it really allowed you to focus on the words, which is great actually when it comes to, I think, my theory when it comes to filming theater for live performance. I mean, filming theater for online performance is the simpler the text and the design, like the easier it's going to be for everyone to capture.
Yes, that's why, because it's kind of like that Hamilton Come From Away thing, which, by the way, someone needs to record Come From Away and release it because I need something to make me happy soon, or something to like cheer me up very soon. But I agree with that. And if you don't read the interview, which you should, because Karen is very wise. But if you don't read
Mm-hmm.
it, you'll also find out that this was not intended to be streamed. Like this was a video that they recorded for the understudies, so they could see it if they were joining the play or if they hadn't done it before. But even with that, it was a really good stream, right? Like the quality was very good. But can you imagine, like, if this was actually very good? Can you imagine what theater companies could do with preparation and the awareness that something's going to be streamed? Like we could be seeing
Mm-hmm.
like all the Gundersons, all the Zacarías, all the Solisas, like all those people that we don't get in New York. We should be seeing that, and we should be also looking at theater from all over the world. And I don't know, it's been like very eye-opening and very sad also to know like, oh God, we could have had this all along. Could have been seeing stuff like this all along, and we haven't, and that's very sad. So
Well,
if they never find a vaccine, please keep giving us all the plays that you're making all over the world.
and Oregon Shakespeare Festival is slowly putting up their archives for like week-long, runs online. So the next one up is Midsummer Night's Dream, and I've seen their stuff live, and it is breathtaking. So I hope you all check it out.
And Oregon, give us head over heels, please, because I want it. Please, 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 please. Please. No more Shakespeare. Give me head over heels.
Oh,
Anyway,
and just a note, this was filmed before COVID. So they're not doing this right now and then filming it. This is all archival stuff.
yeah, no one should be filming anything
No
right
one
now.
should be performing in person right now.
Yeah,
Please be safe.
stay away from people. So now that we're gonna go talk to Hilary Bettis, who is a playwright who you might know because she wrote Alligator, and she's part of the Soul Project, and she also wrote 72 Miles to Go, which was running at Roundabout before COVID hit. And Hilary is one of those amazing playwrights who also transitioned into television, where oh wow, I rhymed, who she also was a writer for the Americans for the I don't know how many seasons. I've never actually watched that show. Have you?
No,
It's supposed to be really good though. We should
I
binge it.
know. I mean, she won awards for it, so I assume she's good.
Go Hillary. Anyway, let's go
Yeah.
talk to Hillary about her career and also about her involvement with the Kilroys, who just recently released their latest very heartbreaking list. Hillary, thank you so much for joining us. Um, I don't even know. I have so many questions for you. I'm like, but the first question that I have for you is that, I went to 72 Miles to Go, a few weeks before quarantine started. And as I ended up tweeting, there was that line from your play about touch that I was like, it hit me, it struck me like lightning, even not knowing what was coming. And ever since, I'm like, is Hilary Betty's like a prophet?
Yeah, no, I know. It's I mean, I've been working on that play for years, but this feels like we are all now living what the undocumented immigrant experience is. Our relationship to, I mean, having your entire life, your entire connection to your family through phone calls and Zoom, and that's all you have. I mean, like my 2-month-old son still hasn't met most of his grandparents yet because other than through Zoom. It's just, but that is like, that's the experience that that family was going through, and so many families go through. And if there's a silver lining in all of this, my hope is that this country will be able to have a deeper understanding and empathy for undocumented people because we're having to all live that now. And for us, it's temporary. For these people, it's not.
Like, like you talked about that experience like so vividly in your play. Like, how did you research it? Like, what was what was a part of the process of like getting into that headspace? Like,
It was, it's personal, partially personal. It's partially, it's a subject matter that I've written extensively about. It's something that I feel like I've been talking about long before it was ever really even in our news cycles, and my mother grew up on the border, and, but the family in the play is really like based on my family. Like my father's a minister, my brother's in the military, my mother's a nurse, and so like the specificity of the characters were very personal, like people that I know, people I love, and conversations that I've had. And then in terms of like the being undocumented, I worked with a lot of different actors that are undocumented throughout the process. Met with immigration attorneys and spent some time in actual like attorneys' offices and different clients that they had coming through, and like what the day-to-day was like for them and what the language was like for them. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is like the greatest human rights issue of our generation, and I think because of that like belief and passion and I mean, I feel like attention must be paid to this, and so I think in talking about it, that is what is at the forefront of everything that I write about this.
You encountered like a lot of success doing television, writing in The Americans, which I'm sorry, I still
No.
haven't watched. I still haven't watched yet, and I'm like, everyone's telling me like it's such a great show to binge right now, but I'm like, it sounds very intense, so maybe I'll wait a little bit.
Okay.
But you had great success writing for television in The Americans, and then 72 Miles to Go ended for a few weeks, being streamed also, and it's devised as a play, and obviously none of us knew that this was coming. So I I would love if you could talk about what you have learned from writing for each different medium that you kind of wish more TV writers incorporated this theater thing more often, and that playwrights incorporated this TV thing more often.
Yeah, I feel like the more that I mean, I've like, first of all, being a playwright, I like started as a playwright. Theater is like my great life love and passion, and TV really sort of has been more like pragmatic, and you know you get really tired of like being poor and not having health insurance. So, but I feel like the more that I've worked in TV, the more I really have a deeper love and appreciation and understanding of what makes a play a play. Um, you can have, I mean, first of all, theater is a live experience, and so the way that our brains experience time in theater versus TV is very, very different. And you sort of have permission in theater, I think, to just live with characters in real time and space that you don't have in TV. Like, audiences get very bored very quickly staring at a screen, and so you like, and also like when you have cinematography and you have editing and you have all of these other camera tricks, you can get a point across much more quickly. Where I think in theater you really need to it's sort of like the characters either need to say it or like the relationship needs to say it for an audience to understand it. And I think that's probably the biggest difference. But I wish that, honestly, I wish that we could take some bigger theatrical risks, especially in like the uptown theaters that are I think still more of like a traditional Americana kitchen sink drama, which I think certainly 72 Miles I think fell into that. But like, how do we take that and take, I think like the pacing and the sort of big gestures that you can have in television, like how do we use that in theater, and how do we make theater feel more like, like relevant's not the right word, but like I think that there's
Immediate.
pacing. Yeah, immediate. Yeah. And I
Right.
wish
So,
writers like understood character development, and I think we're definitely right.
well, yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that 72 Miles is a kitchen sink drama. I mean, it's very, because Jose and I also both saw your play Alligator, which was pretty batshit.
Bonkers. I love it. It's bonkers.
It was very passionate.
It was so crazy, but it's a completely different play than 72 Miles to Go in terms of, topically, but also stylistically. Though they still have like the fragmentation aspect. So like when you heard the news that you're getting produced in the 200 seat, big off Broadway space on 46th Street, like did that affect how you decided to write the play?
Okay, so I was like, I love Alligator. I love like messy, weird downtown theater shit. Like that was sort of like my jam for a long time. And then it's like being completely like pragmatic. I was like, my career has hit this glass ceiling. Like uptown theaters, like they read my stuff and they're like, "We love you. We'll never produce it, but this is cool. Let's have another coffee." And I'm tired of this. I want to write a play that gets the attention of uptown theaters. This still is like something that I'm passionate about and a subject that reaches a big. I'd also written a play, The Ghost of Lotte Bravo, that was also very like messy and gritty and sort of, I think closer to the world of Alligator than 72 Miles. So I wrote the play with that in mind from the first word on the page. So I kind of, and then roundabout loved it. And, I spent a couple of years like doing readings with them and developing it. And so I very like intentionally knew what I was doing.
Oh my God, I love that so much. Now I wanna go into like the more like heartbreaking themes that we're gonna like. Oh my God, you should have seen us like try to get serious to record earlier. We were like, we don't want to like talk about the sad things that we have to talk about right now. But
because we're also talking about Karen Zacarías' play, The Copper
yeah.
Children, this episode, and we're like, wow, it's a lot about immigration and family separation. And I mean, granted, it's a privilege to be able to like not think about it all the time.
For sure.
Absolutely, yeah. But anyway, yeah, we were like, oh God, like we were like running circles around the themes. But one of the reasons why we wanted to talk to you, besides loving 72 Miles to Go, is because you're representing also the Kilroys. And on different years, the Kilroys, every time the list comes out, it's like a fuck yeah moment, right? About like all these plays that are, haven't been produced yet and that are there for, for people to like read them and start producing them. And this year we got like the heartbreaking, like like the sadder like twist to that, which is the plays that could have been. And I mean, the plays haven't gone anywhere. They're still in the world, and they can be produced if we go, whatever production and staging looks like at some point, all the plays can be that. But can you talk a little bit about, the idea behind this year's list? And it's so sad. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. It's just so heartbreaking.
It is really heartbreaking. I mean, I've had multiple productions that were canceled, and so I'm like, every playwright on this list. I mean, I know how like gut wrenching it is, and it's, you work so hard and so long, and you finally get an opportunity, and overnight it's pulled, the rug is pulled out from under your feet. And I'm sure a lot of these writers are wondering, will my play ever will I ever get a chance again? Will this play ever get a chance again? None of us know what the landscape is going to look like when theater comes back, and who knows when that's going to be. But I think for us, we really wanted to respond to the moment, and we wanted to really think in sort of big picture terms about what is happening, not just in theater, but across, the world right now. And really like honor, because like the spring production especially is when theaters take like their risk plays. Women and people of color overwhelmingly are the plays that are scheduled in those slots. And so it's like an extra, fuck you from COVID and universe. And so I think our thinking was like, well, we really want to honor these plays. We want to honor the pain and heartbreak and grief that so many of these writers are feeling and experiencing. We want to keep these plays alive. We want theaters, when theater comes back, to say, hey, these plays are still here. Please don't like fall back on like musicals and revivals of old dead white guys because you think it's like, do these plays, read these plays, keep these plays alive. And we really felt like it was our, first of all, like the Kilroys, we just aggregate information. We don't pick plays, and I can't stress that enough. We, we have nominators. They send us their top 5. And then the top percentage of the most recommended plays are the plays that make the list every year. But we felt like that seems a little bit small in terms of what's happening in the world right now. And so we really wanted to just make this, here's all the plays that have been canceled. And that this is really a living list. That more plays are going to be, unfortunately, canceled and postponed so that people can continue adding to this. So that we really document what is happening right now in this era with this particular.
Yeah. What's your opinion on like people producing things virtually?
I mean, I totally understand. First of all, I understand like artists need to keep making work. We need to keep making work, and we need to respond to the time. And this is what it is. Theater cannot happen. We cannot be in rooms together right now, and people's voices need to be expressed and heard and out there in the universe. And also, from a pragmatic point of view, like theaters need to find a way to continue to survive and bring in whatever money they can to exist. And hopefully that money goes to like paying their staff, artists, and honoring like commissions and things that theaters have already promised to artists, and putting that out in the universe so that if they're listening, that's where some money is still going to. But it's just not the same. I mean, plays are written to be experienced in real time and real space with a real living audience. And, TV and film is really, really good at what TV and film does. And so I don't quite know how theater can compete with that, to be quite honest. But, I also know that people have to, so maybe this is a time where, we have new innovation and different ways of thinking about what theater could be right now, So I'm trying to be open-minded about it, and also at the same time, like, Netflix we can't compete with Netflix, if we're being honest.
No, you're so right about that, because I remember when I went to a matinee of 72 Miles to Go, and someone was like, a man next to me was burping whiskey or something like that. And then there's that scene where the character, where Bobby's character, I think, brings in some KFC. And I was like, there's the smell of fried chicken and this man's like boozy burps and all of that. I kind of miss that in like a really like twisted way.
Yeah. I mean, I think like we as a species are wired to experience empathy when we are in rooms with other people, and that is what theater has that TV and film will never have. When there's like a screen in front of us, when it's an object and a screen, there's part of our brain that doesn't see the people on the other side of the screen, but when we are forced to sit next to people, even people that we like, that might be like drunk and burping at the worst moments or falling asleep or hearing aids going off or whatever, we respond differently than we would, and I just think that like that lesson in empathy is so vital and so necessary, and I don't know. I think in a lot of ways, like when theater comes back, that is like the one thing that people are going to be craving so much of, you know?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, like the sweat and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of audiences, like when you did 72 Miles, and we all know the audience at Roundabout, it's not the audience that we would like.
No.
But but you were exposing them to a personal story that they would not have had knowledge of otherwise, because undocumented immigrants are usually are still quite villainized or otherized in media. And so do you think the play did what you wanted it to do in terms of like making people feel empathy and
Yeah.
hopefully inspiring them to do something?
Yeah. I think some people yes and some people no. You know, I think I mean, definitely conversations that I had with some people felt like, oh, I never really thought about immigration from a family perspective. I never thought about it from like the small things in life that we take so for granted that are missed, and how massive that grief is. And I think there definitely were people that for sure were inspired, and and then of course there's people that are like, oh, it's political, trying to
Mm.
make me feel something for people that I don't want to feel for, and I will say that I think because there are not enough Latinx stories, it ought to be, but especially on our stages, there just aren't. And I think for a lot of the audience, like very, I will say very like well-meaning audience members, I think the only thing they've really ever thought about Latinx people and this particular subject is from like the New York Times headlines or like what they see on like CNN, and it's always these gut-wrenching stories about, detention centers and children being taken from their families and like harrowing, harrowing journeys across multiple countries and the violence and the death and cartels. And yes, that is part of it, but also for so many more people, it is like these like quiet everyday lives. And A, first of all, that's what I wanted to highlight. But B, I think that there was a real expectation, maybe not even conscious, but a subconscious expectation that this play was going to be like trauma porn. And I think a lot of people were disappointed when it wasn't.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and I think this is like a bigger issue with, people of color who are working in general. Um, there's that, I mean, it's like also love play there's just like white audiences I think want that shock. You want like say like, oh look, I'm a good person because I would never be this horrible, and therefore I don't actually like have to take a deeper look at subtle, insidious racism in our culture and how we're all like part of that. Um, and well, no, I mean I think people still want that separation. That's sort of what I've come out with this experience. I went in writing this play thinking like, oh, if we see how similar we are, then people will have more empathy. But I actually think, and I think that there were certainly people that happened for, but I also think there was many people that don't want that. They don't want to feel similar. They want to feel like, oh, these poor people, I have pity, therefore I'm a good person.
Yeah, yeah. Like I took my medicine by having this experience, this very painful experience, and then therefore I don't need to do anything else.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, all those people are screwed because right now everyone all over the world is almost like living the exact same life, right? And I say almost because obviously, like we have Wi-Fi and we have internet and we have like, but anyway, like most of us, I would say, are like it's like I don't know, like fairly equal like playing level. And what is like one or what are some of the things that you have found yourself doing during quarantine that you were like, Hilary, not in a million years I would have ever imagined you doing this in your life?
Oh, besides having a baby?
I assumed you planned on having the baby.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think, well, I will say that I have definitely been doing a lot of soul searching about like what kinds of stories I want to tell and what kind of writer I actually want to be. And, you know, I don't know if that's, I think that it's because of what is happening right now that is making me like step back in ways that I don't know that I would have otherwise. And really ask like uncomfortable questions like, is theater the right place for, my voice or the audiences I want to reach? Oh my God, your reactions are amazing. But
Yeah, don't leave us.
I mean, we'll still talk to you if you do, but still.
But I really want to write really messy, bold plays like Alligator, but I want to reach an audience like Roundabout, and I don't. And I'm like, how do you do that? How do you, and also how do you like continue to put like the family and 72 Miles at the forefront of the conversation that I want to have, and do it in a way that people can hear and people can digest, and it's not people being like, but I don't want to feel for those people. I think that's something that I'm really, really grappling with right now. And part of me is like, maybe I should just be a novelist, because it's also like complicated navigating like these big institutions, and how do you like hold on to your voice and your point of view and the concept of the thing that you wrote when there's so many like moving parts and other departments and other perspectives and other stuff coming at you, and I think I've found that hard to navigate in every production that I've had, period, whether it's been a like Roundabout or like a tiny theater and Kansas City or whatever. It's a hard thing to navigate, which I feel like is part of the conversation that we're also having right now in theater. But
yeah, I think the live
And
theater,
I mean,
and
and I mean,
oh my God, sorry.
oh, no,
I was like, I don't mean like to put like a cloud on your novelist parade, but even there, like look at American Dirt. Like even there, it seems that what they want is like poverty and suffering porn. So don't leave us, Hilary.
but
Don't go write
Oh,
books.
I won't. I love writing plays too much.
Okay, thank you.
I know. Well, I feel like it's one of those lies that theaters like to tell themselves, that it's all like art based, it's not commercial like Hollywood is. But but no, like you're making all kinds of artistic compromises in a production because you think, oh, this is what our white audience might like.
You are. You really are. You really, 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 really are. And you have like very well-meaning, artistic directors and producers and, people that really know their particular audience that are giving you notes behind the scenes that are, whether they're conscious of it or not, are about their particular audience. And you're like, well, I want this play to resonate and I want it to be successful. And especially like a Latinx play that is on, off Broadway on that stage, you're like, God, it has to be successful so that they do more Latinx plays, so that they take more risks like this. And then, and so suddenly you're carrying the weight of an entire community, and being a woman on top of that on your shoulders. And you're like, you start to, I personally know that I fall into the trap of like second guessing my instincts, or being like, well, I'm not being collaborative and I'm not, or I should listen to them because no, I see it this way, but maybe that isn't going to resonate with this audience. And so I should like cut that part of the play, or I should like tone that language down, or, I should make this like a more sort of waspy, repressed scene than like a big Mexican family that's like shouting at each other. It's a lot of like those little tiny, this constant like mental calculation that you're doing, and which I feel like white male playwrights don't. They just don't have to think about those things because everybody behind the scenes and in the audience shares their perspective, and so they can sort of be bigger and take risks in ways that I feel like my instincts say this and my pragmatic brain says this, and it's a constant deep gut-wrenching emotional wrestling match, and I don't know, it's
crazy, but
which are, I feel like, the glass ceiling of my career, and I don't know how to. That's the thing that I feel like I don't. How do you? I wish you wrote for the New York Times. Both of you, Jesus, it would be a changer.
And Jose does. I don't very much. It's too stressful of an experience.
And I have no comment right now. I was gonna say, that whole like empathizing only with this white male perspective is how we end up with all these plays that feel like they have no adobo, like they have no sazon, like there's nothing there. But to counteract that, have you fallen in love or have you been revisiting any specifically Latinx pop culture or just like food or anything in quarantine that's giving you joy?
Oh, yeah. Wait, hold on. So I am like, my education, like this, I'm reading, because I'm really like, I don't know enough about Chicano history, and especially like women's Chicano history. And so I'm spending a lot of time just like digging deep into like my own family story and the history of this country, because I feel like, I grew up in like rural public schools where basically we were taught that like, the Bible was founded on God, and the Constitution was founded on the Bible, and the men behind it were all white men and they're perfect and we should all try to be like them, and like that is it. And there was like no conversation around how women played a part in our history. There was never like, I think like our Black History Month was like Martin Luther King Jr. was great, the end, like let's move on, how great white people are again. Like that really is like, that was like my education. And so I feel like I'm like, well, I can expect our country and our culture and our society to understand our history until I really like start to look at it and understand it for myself and understand like why my family made the decisions they did, like what were they dealing with as they were like, coming of age in this country and trying to carve out their own place, because it's one thing to like look back and say, well, why didn't my grandfather teach us Spanish? It's another thing to look back and say, wait, like that was during like the repatriation of, Mexican Americans, and his mother and his family was living in fear, and, the like Juan Crow laws in Texas that like nobody talks about. And, and until you can understand it in that context, like how can we really understand ourselves? And so I think that's like what I'm really trying, as well as like having a baby now and like wanting to teach my son, who we are and where we come from. And also like there's more to the world than what you're going to be taught in school.
No pressure on you, Hilary, but like just hearing you describe all these things, I'm kind of like seeing like a 72 Miles TV series, like prequel, like set, I don't know, like in the 1900s, and then you can write a book about the Repatriation Act, and then you can end up with your own Hilary Bettis like universe with movies and TV and plays.
Yes.
And that way you can do it all and not leave theater.
From your mouth to God's ear. I love it. I love it. I mean, I have some like TV development stuff that is sort of all in the same, trying to have the same conversations around like immigration and the Chicano experience, and, trying to find different ways to subverted into our pop culture, and we'll see.
I love it. So this is the part of an interview where you plug everything that you're working on, everything that you want us to make, happen, so you won't leave theater and write books.
Okay, well, if you could get some different critics reviewing plays, that would be amazing for the field, for all of us. I mean, I think really what I want to plug is the Kilroys and the Kilroys List, and I want everybody to just look at those plays, look at all the plays on it, read all of those plays, and especially the plays by unknown writers, by plays that were canceled in small communities, by local really reaching out and supporting them, and not just the usual suspects that are the more well-known writers among us that have plays canceled, but those plays, and keeping them alive, reading them, programming them, making a commitment to bring these plays back when theater comes back. That is if there's one thing I want to leave people with at the end of this conversation, it's that. Because also so many of the plays on this list are women of color, and these are vital, necessary, beautiful voices that deserve to have a platform and deserve to have those productions. And then read other plays by these writers. And then go back through all the Kilroys lists and read all of the plays by women that you have not read yet. I think our list last year was all, or the year before was all women of color. And so, go back, look at that list, read those writers, read every single one. That's it. That's what I want to plug.
Thank you. I mean, we're all in this together. And give my love to Bobby and to the baby. And enjoy your downtime also.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Right. It was lovely seeing you. Gracias, Hilary. That was such a delight.
Yeah. And now is our favorite part, and I'm sure your favorite part of the show.
Did the NPR part of the show?
Yes.
I mean, that's not my favorite, but okay, fine. I'll be happy to do it this week. So thank you so much for all your support, all your comments. They really warm our very cold, jaded hearts. I mean, we're not cold and jaded, but you know what I mean. They make us very happy in quarantine. But if you like our show, if you like our show, remember to give us some ratings on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Review us.
Also, yes, review us. And also, let us know what it's like to be on the other side. And also, tell us, tell your friends and family and everyone you know about our show if you like us. I'm still very, very happy with all the Raúles Parcel fans who have come join our family and who are supporting our show now. So yeah, we have a Patreon. You can, for as little as $1, you can get a lot of bonus goodies, including Q&As and posts that we send out every week, and more of our love. And I don't know, now I sound like I'm trying to an infomercial kind of thing. But no, thank you for your support. We love it, and we are very grateful that you're here with us doing this crazy thing.
Yeah. I mean, I just put up an interview we did with, the great Paula Vogel, and she gave us some advice, which is to follow our joy. And so this show is bringing me a lot of joy every week, and I hope it is bringing all of you who are listening and watching some joy too during this tough time.
Yeah, if we don't bring you joy, please Marie Kondo us. We don't want to be bad juju in your lives. Mm-hmm. But if you want to tell us how to improve and be a part of your joy, let us know also. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Bye.